A warm welcome to a Podful of Saints on, what are we, Thursday? Yep, Thursday, the 9th of March, 2023, Series 4, number 31, with myself, David Tavener, and over there, looking away from the camera, come on, Jake, Jake Ellacott.
Hello, Dave. Hello, Lee. Hello, everyone. Hope you're all well.
And hello, Lee, is of course, Lee Wood. Evening, Lee.
Evening, David. Evening, Jacob.
Well, I know we were talking about that top before we started, Lee, but it's so nice and bright. It looks really good. Just don't let anybody know it's the size of a marquee or whatever. Right, two games to look back on. First of all, one in South East London last Saturday. Champion Hill. We were anything but champions that day. Poor game from our point of view. Lots of topics to talk about from it. I thought we deserved a defeat. What about you, Jake? You were down there.
Probably yes. On the share of play. I mean, Dulwich. I think the annoying thing is Dulwich weren't anything amazing, were they? They weren't a good team. They created a couple of chances. Michael Johnson made one very, very good save first half from the corner. We had a goal ruled out for handball. Which was it handball? My initial reaction behind the goal was yes. Then watching back on the replay, it's quite difficult to tell. But then, red card, that had an impact. But I think the disappointing for us and from Saints fans' perspective was didn't seem to be much urgency after going a goal behind, and the lack of almost substitutions, trying to change the game. Because even with 10 men, we had a reasonable spell where Dulwich didn't look like much good at the back, even with 10 men. But yeah, just Dulwich probably edged it. But it was just such an unforgettable afternoon at Champion Hill.
Yeah, for 5 or 10 minutes after that goal, they had us under quite a bit of pressure. And Michael Johnson did well to keep them down to just a 1 in that time. You had an excellent save in the first half, another one in the second half as well. Devante's handball, unfortunately, the replay, the highlights are inconclusive. But their defender, Will Wood, he was right next to Devante, and he appealed straight away. I suppose the defender would, but it was a close call. Certainly looked a close call. We'll come on to the referee in a moment. I don't like criticising referees, but I'm going to make an exception when we get round to the one from last Saturday. Other criticism: what on earth was David Noble doing with that starting 11?
I think he was just sort of in a sort of sick twist of irony. He was sort of trying to be too clever, I think. I mean, I know little about being a football manager, but surely 101 has got to be to play your best players. If you're Dulwich, if you're sitting in the change room before the game, the team sheet comes in, you're seeing there's no McConnell, there's no Jeffers. Straight away, they've got an advantage in their head mentally. They're already on the ascendancy. They're all thinking, "Oh, boys, come on, what's going on here?" They were a team on their knees in terms of performance and points. They've come in. We've got two of our best attacking options on the bench. Immediately, they've come out all guns blazing. They're already one up in their heads because, it's there for them. I think Nobby tried to be too clever. And unfortunately, it cost him. It didn't pay off at all. I don't know what's sort of going on. I mean, Sean always seems to be the fall guy for these, these situations where he gets found on the bench. It's not always down to him. And in a game where, the simplest of goals could sort of win you the game, unfortunately, Nobby's decision has cost him the 3 points.
I totally agree with you, Lee. I thought we handed the initiative to them by not playing McConnell and Jeffers. Glenn McConnell might not have been 100% fit, so park that to one side, but Sean Jeffers certainly was. Having already dropped him once a couple of weeks ago, to do it twice. Somehow, nobody, if he's not happy with Sean, whatever he's not doing about his game, he hasn't scored many in open play lately, that is true. But he's got to try and gee him up off the pitch. He's got to motivate him at training or whatever. To keep dropping him, that doesn't help the team overall, as we've seen. All right, it's a good performance against Ebbsfleet, but we got one goal early on, and that was it. We didn't add to it, which is what we needed, and that was without Sean. You're going to have to play Sean whether you like it or not, Nobby. But we've got to get the best out of him. And we come on to last night's game at Havant, where we saw what could happen. What was your take on it, Jake?
Yeah, I can only agree. I mean, seeing the team going to the ground, was a bit worried, and those worries did prove to be correct. Glenn, I could kind of understand before the game. I was very excited to hope he would start, but kind of understand that. But Sean Jeffers, I think a supporter said after the game, and I can't remember who exactly, sort of said, how many times this season have Ebbsfleet dropped Dominic Polion? Even if he's had a couple of dodgy performances, have they dropped him? You'd probably argue not a lot. Of course, we don't know, and every situation is different, so you can't really compare totally. But I think it's a fair comment, and I think as well, what stuck with us was how long it took Nobby to make changes as well and bring those two on. I mean, what Glenn came on with 2 minutes of normal time left when you're chasing the game, and of course we were a man behind, and shape wise you don't want to upset it too much, but you're losing at the end of the day, and you want to get a result out of that game. And so leaving Sean and Glenn especially so late to come on, I think just didn't really make sense, did it? Totally. And after Sean came on, you saw what he could do. He had half a chance, not even that he flashed across goal with a brilliant sort of hooked effort that wasn't far away late on. But it just gives you something there, doesn't he? And yeah, I think that was the most bemusing thing for a lot of us Saints fans behind the goal, was how long it took to actually bring those players on.
The thing is, though, boys, is that Nobby has been on the whole really proactive in his substitutions, his game management. I think Saturday was just a very, very bad example of how it can go so horrifically wrong against an absolutely abysmal side. Yeah, okay, they've got a new manager in charge 2 days prior, but the impact he would have had would be minimal at best. They were there for the taking, and we've got to be winning games like that. We have to be winning games like that. Otherwise, we'll be dining out for the last month and a half on a very fortuitous game at Worthing and an excellent performance, albeit a losing one, at home to Ebbsfleet. Apart from that, boys, there's nothing else being served up, is there, really? I mean, it's patchy at best, and we are on a bad run. It's a bad run, but that was a bad result on Saturday, and I think Nobby's got to take a lot of that on the shoulders. I know in his post-match he kept pointing fingers at the players, and they're making the same mistakes, but he was alluding to the fact that this time every single year for the last 3-4 years, we've had some sort of like capitulation, the bottle falls out of it. But bearing in mind that he's been a player for a lot of that, and if he's not been a player, he's been a coach. So my question would be, what's he going to do about it now?
I agree with you, but you said earlier about handing in your initiative. 1 point in 10 games Dulwich had before Saturday. So get your strongest out there, put pressure on them early, and fair chance they will crack. Instead, we seem to have a mentality we had at the start of the season, which was let them come at us. We'll try and take the sting out of the game. That was the wrong way to go about it, completely the wrong way. You mentioned they got a new manager. They got Hakan Hayrettin, of course, did very well at Maidstone United. Led them to the bottom of the Conference National early this season. Played four games for us back in 89-90. And yeah, he did. Yeah, he's a former Saint. Midfield.
What, the entire midfield?
He wasn't quite so big then. He wasn't quite so big.
I mean, we talk about Dulwich and that poor run. I think Monday night's result for them against Chelmsford sort of shows what happens when a team actually goes at them. And a lot of those goals for Chelmsford were in the second half. But we could have done that if we'd brought on someone like Sean Jeffers at half-time, pushed on, tried to go at it. But I say, we just didn't at all. We just sat back and let them come at us, and that's what happens. Whereas Chelmsford, another team in that playoff chase, actually went at them and broke them apart. So I think it just shows they are a poor side, even with a new manager bounce.
Sorry, mate, go on.
No, it's right. And I should say that it was just such a low quality game anyway, that we can't say we're unlucky at all at Dulwich.
I think we say his decisions maybe didn't go our way. You mentioned the sending off earlier, Jake. Watched it again. A magnificent dive by George Porter. Got to say, quite magnificent. It was never a sending off. The linesman and the referee between them, they both concocted some story, but never a sending off in a month of Sundays. I don't know what you two made of it.
I agree. I mean, obviously stood at the other end, difficult to see to some extent, but it didn't look like one at the time. And it was a bit of a, whoa, where's that come from? And it just felt like another game where we had really poor officials. It seemed like every single decision went against us for a lot of that second half. And there, I thought Adebiyi very unlucky, and of course that probably did contribute to the game. You know, to go behind with what, half hour, 40 minutes left of the game, it's never going to help at all, is it? But yeah, you know, it is an excuse, but yeah, not a good decision from the referee for me.
The
Well, it
exact
was
same
one of
foul
many.
happened. Sorry, Savs.
No, you go first, Lee. It's
I
fine.
was just going to say that the exact same foul happened on Blackman, and it only got away with a card. I mean, to be fair, the fellow, he wasn't running. He was running towards goal, but he was sort of running an angle. There was covering there. I think Clarkie's got to take a little bit of the bullet as well, because he had a shocking clearance in order for the fella to go through on goal as well. I mean, seriously, is that a red card? I mean, by the letter of the law, it probably is, but it's, you know, a little bit of common sense now, boys. I mean, not for me, no.
It is if he's caught him. I don't believe he caught him. I really don't believe he caught him. And if he did, I'm prepared. I say I'm wrong, but try and catch up with Callum at the weekend, because he's got nothing to do Saturday, and try and have a chat with him and find out. But that was George Porter. He also was involved in the booking of Ryan Blackman. Now, that's not George Porter's fault. That's a referee. A shocking decision again. Michael Clark's booking. You guess who he brought down? George Porter. Well, he didn't. If you watch the highlights, Porter's got his arm. He brings Clarkey down because he's running towards our goal. It looks like the defender's fouled him. And poor Clarkey gets a booking. It should have gone the other way. And you can go on all the way through like that. I really disappointed with the performance of referee Callum Walchester. We've had him in the past, no problems at all. Saturday, I just don't know what he was playing at. Dulwich were in his ear a lot of the time, and whether that seemed to sway him or what, I don't know. But it wasn't his finest 90 minutes.
Definitely not. And it feels like we've had a bit of a run of that, haven't we, in the last few games of referees that just decision point. I mean, Blackman, I mean, you say that one on Saturday, what, week before, Ebbsfleet at home as well, another perfect, you know, it's been a pretty unlucky, isn't he, Blackman? 2 yellow cards he doesn't deserve at all. So I say, I think it's worth us pointing out these officials. I think, you know, we can't really say they cost us any of these games, you know, because of our own performances, but still not very good at all. And yeah, does make you worry a little bit.
It does, but overall, the standard this season has been okay. I wouldn't complain about it too much. Just recently, we've had a couple of like brandishing the cards when they're not really justified at all.
Okay.
Anyway, that was our 5,000th game. We celebrated it in style, didn't we?
Oh God. And what is Dave? You enjoyed Champion Hill as a location to watch football last Saturday, didn't you?
It was dreadful, wasn't it? In a way, you've got to feel a bit sorry for Dulwich. That ground opened in what, 92, I think it was, and it wasn't ready because we were due to play them at the start of that season, and we ended up playing them at Hayes Lane, Bromley, and we struggled to a 5-0 victory. Clarkey hat-trick, Dean Williams a couple. Happy days, Lee. And back in those days, they were only getting a few hundred, so Champion Hill as it is now, that's fine. But when you're getting gates 2,500 plus, just short of 3,000 last Saturday, most people can't see. And if you can see, it's somebody in front of you holding a Pekingese dog, and so you can't see past its ears. And it was not a great experience at all. You kept trying to find somewhere decent to watch it. Unless you're in the stand, you couldn't see much.
What I would say, what I would say is that I think it's quite evident, and it has been for quite some time, that the Dulwich fans, or there's a lot of the Dulwich contingent, aren't there to watch the football. They're there to be seen. They're there to be social, which is fine. But the last year, I was actually speaking to someone in the bar, and they reiterated everything you said, Tabs. However, they also said that they should feel themselves fortunate to be in the ground at all, because there was a situation 2 years ago when they got thrown out. They were pretty much homeless. And although they are more than aware it needs upgrading, Champion Hill, they're thankful to be in there at all. But to be honest with you, mate, it is what it is. And I'll just sort of backtracking a little bit to what you boys said about the officials. Officials are officials, boys. We've got to win the game doing what we do, not having to worry about, bemoaning one decision out of a whole hour and a half. We need to be taking the game by the scruff of the necks.
Got a list of them here, Lee. It's more than one. With Champion Hill, though, they got the space there, and money's probably the problem, to terrace a lot better. And all those people, when they go for their social afternoon down there, they'd be able to actually watch a game as well, because they'd be able to see. But it would make it so much better for everybody, and it would be acceptable. But of course, I think they're looking to get a new site, aren't they, on Champion Hill?
I think so, yeah. I say, I think, it's great that they're back in there. That ground could have been lost, which is, really, really brilliant. I think it's just as a footballing fan that wants to watch the game, the full 90 minutes, it's not a great experience there, is it, with crowds like that? Long queues for everything, little space, people around you not even watching the game, Dulwich fans not changing ends. I think first half, there's a couple of Dulwich fans in front of us who had no idea what was going on. So it's just, it's just not the pleasurable non-league experience that you sometimes want. I say with a few hundred less, probably better in there. But it is what it is. It works for them, and it makes Clarence Park look like a superb match day experience in comparison, I think. So that's
it's
one
already,
positive
Jake.
out of it.
It is already, mate. The queues aren't as long. At least you can see.
Exactly. So there you go.
I remember going to the old Champion Hill in the 70s and 80s. I think it had a capacity of something like 18,000 and railway sleepers for the terracing. And it was magnificent, but it was in disrepair. And in the end, you weren't allowed to stand on the terracing. You had to sit in the stands and hope the seat didn't give away. But anyway, hopefully they'll get a nice one next time. Right, are we done with Dulwich?
I think so.
Please.
Right, we headed further south last night, Wednesday night, down to Hampshire, right down to the coast, Havant Waterlooville. Both sides went into the game with a cracking record of 1 point from 4 games. So something had to give, and of course their manager, Paul Doswell, serving a 12-match ban for unwise comments made to Ebbsfleet manager Dennis Cuttery. But it was a very lively, open, entertaining game. Very wet down there, plastic pitch. The highlights, the Havant highlights, I don't think they do us justice. We were involved in that game more than that suggests, particularly the first half. Paul Doswell actually pays credit to that in his interview. Maybe we didn't create a lot of chances. We got down the flanks really well. It's the best we played for ages, and Ebbsfleet, I suppose, since bringing Devante and Tafari into the game and getting down the flanks, we were good. But the main thing, of course, we had Sean Jeffers and Glenn McConnell back in the side. Sean Jeffers, 68 goals going into last night's game. Glenn McConnell, 1 start, 2 games. Who got our 2 goals?
Who knew? Who knew it'd be so simple, fellas? Dave, you should be a football manager, mate. Good Lord. I mean, 2 seriously good players. And they come back into the side, as you say, both score, get the win. And I'm pretty sure I did actually predict a 2-1 win for City to Havant. Can I ask you though, Dave, what was the main catalyst for the change in terms of performance from Dulwich on Saturday to last night?
Well, having those players in the side, he went for a more attack option playing. You can see from the start we were more attack minded than we were Saturday from the start, and that was against a far better sides. They're on a bad run, but they're not that bad a side. They're really not. But we just had the right attitude. We didn't actually create that many clear chances in the end. I think Paul Doswell came up with a stat, 2 shots on target, 2 goals, which is a slight exaggeration. We did better than that. But you just felt that first half, it was more open. Both sides were giving it a go. Very few free kicks. It was entertaining. And that's how you like to see City play, not trying to take the sting out of the game. Try and win it, because you've got the players to do it. Yes, Sean does get most of the goals. Glenn's going to get quite a few if you keep playing him. Shea Cooper's going to come up with some. He's going to come good. He's looking really good at the moment. Zane Banton, he's just waiting to knock in his 50th goal, become the 30th player to score 50 goals for the club. You've got players who can get goals. Use them to their best ability. Don't try and take the sting out of the game, particularly against poor sides. Attack them. I felt that was the main difference, Lee. And we got a benefit from it in the end.
I listened online and I watched the highlights back on Havant's YouTube, and it seemed to me that we just moved the ball quicker. We moved it with purpose now, and I know we shouldn't look back, but it almost feels as though it reiterates the fact that we missed a trick against Dulwich to see how we can play so freeing and so flowing especially on a plastic pitch as well, to be fair. But, we need to punish these sides. And it shows. Nobby made an excellent point, didn't he, the other week? He said, it just depends what City side show up. If it's the side that played against Ebbsfleet and almost got a deserved point out of that, or is it the team that we've seen over the last sort of a few weeks just fail to kickstart themselves into gear? But I think it's very important now. That win must have given them so much more confidence, and the way they played. I mean, you can only interpret so much listening to it and watching the highlights, but I think this is now the catalyst for us to kick on. We've got Berry back in goal now, which for me is a massive plus. Not a slight on MJ, but just a plus overall, I think. And you've got players now who look a bit hungrier, and they've obviously got to kick up the arse, which is what they needed, especially after the Dulwich game. And hopefully we can now absolutely take it into the Eastbourne game as well.
It could be said, you say kick up the backside there, Lee. David Noble's got what he wanted. 2 players, all right. Yeah. He didn't drop McConnell, he just hadn't brought him in. He dropped Sean, come back and gets a goal. I think it's a coincidence more than anything, but he could say, I did that and it worked.
Absolutely. And I think that the exciting thing for me last night was seeing that team sheet you sent through, Dave, and I was thinking, well, a minute, we're basically playing every attacking player we can, can't we? And it worked, and it's really good. And as you say, listening to the game on what I believe you old timers used to call the wireless, now it's called digital radio. That it's that first half especially. It seemed like, excuse me, Lee, it seemed like a lot of that first half was us on the ball, controlling the game, going forward, which is such a contrast to Dulwich. Absolutely unbelievable contrast. And it sounds like you deserved the lead, and of course, equaliser not great, but then we battled our way back in and took the lead again. I say 2 players, 2 quality finishes as well. I know Glenn's took a bit of deflection, but at least, they're there to do it. And that's what happens when you play these attacking players. Sure, at the back, might be a little bit shaky, but, if we can actually score goals and hit the target, we can pick up those 3 points.
That first 30 minutes or so last night, Glenn McConnell is a joy to watch. I know I keep singing his praises. He's 17 years old. Ball comes to him. If it's any of us, we're looking to get it under control, aren't we? Well, you don't, Joe. You want to go flying past you in goal. But we're looking to get it under control. Then have a look where to put it. It comes to Glenn. He knows what's around him, and he lays it off first time. And it's just superb to watch. And he was great to watch for that first half hour or so. And getting that goal at the end just topped it all off nicely. And it's interesting, Nobby actually paid tribute to the defence last night. Because I say, aren't that bad a side. They're on a bad run, but they're not a bad side. And we had to work hard to keep them out. And Dylan Berry, he was busy after they got their equaliser.
They're a full-time side, aren't they? They're not many mugs. These aren't journeymen. These are a genuine full-time side. And they've had it rough. I think they've spent poorly. But they've still got some good players there, and I think that Cooper is going to be, again he got singled out by Nobby for some praise. I think he's got signs of coming really into his own now. I know that McConnell gets all the plaudits for what he's done for Cambridge, and Jeffers obviously, but Cooper, he's done some seriously good things for City, and you can see nuggets of gold there. And hopefully, if they can find how they integrate him into the side with all the attacking talent that we do have at our disposal, he could be another key element going forward. But one thing I would say to you, though, Dave, question for you, mate. Do you see a scenario where Jeffers gets dropped again before the end of the season? I'm thinking probably not.
Who knows? Who knows? He's got to perform. What it does show is Nobby says, you've got to perform, otherwise I will drop you. He's not afraid to drop him, which is no bad thing. It's just doing it at the right time. I thought Ebbsfleet was the wrong game.
Good point.
And Ebbsfleet was the wrong game, because we needed our strongest side out there. Dulwich, go and kill them. They're on a downer. Go and kill them. Put your best goal scorer out there. I thought he got it wrong. If he's going to do it for any game, it would have been should have been the Slough one, but that's easy for us to say, of course, isn't it?
Oh.
Jake, someone contacted you, I think, some statistics about the goalkeepers. Do you want to touch on that?
Yes. A friend of the podcast sent us a statistic, and the
Who is it?
The amount of points we've kicked up with.
Name and shame. Come on.
No. The amount of points we've picked up with Dylan Berry in comparison to Michael Johnson is quite amazing, actually. I think is it 34 with Dylan, 21 with Michael Johnson. But as you pointed out, Dave,
it's 20 with Johnson. 20 with Johnson. Go on, go on.
But as you pointed out to me earlier, Dave, it's a bit harsh because, of course, Michael had the start of the season under Ian Allinson, so it's difficult. And I thought MJ didn't do much wrong, did he? In the last couple of games, some very good saves, kept us in games at times, and then just bad luck that I think he's broken the same finger again, hasn't he?
Yeah, the very tip of it. The disparity in points: 34 points under, as you say, Dylan Berry, 20 points under Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson played one game more. It's incredible. But if you break it down, MJ did actually pick up more points under Ian Allinson than he has done under David Noble. And he's played 9 games under both managers. But if you really want to analyse the goalkeepers, it's for goals. Now, not the goals scored, because Berry, him in the side, we scored 38. Michael Johnson, it's only 16. But with goalkeepers, it's goals conceded. Dylan's let in 23 in his 17. Michael Johnson's conceding less than a goal a game, 17 in 18. So his record, from a goalkeeper's point, is actually better.
I think you can read whatever you want to in any stat. It's a personable thing, isn't it? You will find whatever you want to find looking at a stat. It's a good stat, though, by the way. Great stat. The mystery statistician who messaged us. But what I will say is that MJ's done absolutely nothing wrong at all. And, mate, if he's broken the same finger, either it wasn't particularly healed in the first place or he's doing something particularly wrong. I don't know how I mean, you have to feel for him. You honestly do. He's come in, and we were a bit dubious, weren't we, Jake? When he come in place of Berry, and it was like, well, we've had Berry. He's been immense for us. He's been fantastic. He's been a colossus. MJ come in, absolutely flawless. Done nothing wrong at all. Yeah. Made a fantastic save against Dulwich on Saturday. Made a couple of good saves against Ipswich as well, to be fair. But I think just unlucky, just pure unlucky. And stats, you can read into them whatever you want.
Of course, MJ's first match back down at Weymouth saved a penalty. So, all right, in the end, it only won us 1 extra point, but it's 1-1 we probably deserved from that. 1 more than we deserved from that game. There you go. Yeah,
I mean, we mentioned earlier this season how fortunate we were to have 2 very good goalkeepers on our book, but we're very unfortunate they seem to be trading injuries at the minute. One comes back, the other gets injured, and then the other comes back, the other gets injured. So, don't know what's happening there. But we are very lucky that we've got Dylan Berry there to come back in, and he's fit to come back for Michael Johnson. Because again, I think you saw last night how good he is.
Last night, you were listening to it on the radio there, Jake. I don't know I think you did, Lee. I can't remember what you said. As well as Will's commentary, I don't know he had from St Albans joining him, but Paul Doswell, the Havant manager, who's supposed to be banned, I believe he could be most of the way through, couldn't
he? Yes. Very loud. He was basically the third commentator. And he had some very forthright opinions, some very strong reviews. And I think it's easy to say he wasn't best pleased with his side's performance for a lot of the game. So he was a little bit
articulate that, Jake.
I think with a lot of shouting and a lot of swear words, I would say. A lot of them we can't repeat on here. Always Dave will edit them out. And yeah, I think the most interesting was midway through the second half said, "Oi, target their number 8. That Blackman, he's controlling the game." And he said that quite a few times. And I think it's really good to hear that, because Blackman has had some good performances from us or for us, but I don't know if he's quite stepped up to that level in every game. So I think it's really important for this run-in, especially without Kieran Wiltshire in midfield starting last night. I think a little bit worried about that sort of shape in the middle there. But it sounds like it worked actually really, really well. Dave, you were there. It sounds like it worked well in the middle.
Oh, midfield, it was good. Hasn't always been our strongest point this season, but last night it was. Unfortunately, Will didn't press Nobby to find out why Karen Wiltshire didn't start. Appointed captain Saturday, dropped on Wednesday. So maybe it's just with the formation. Maybe with the formation he went for, he didn't think it would suit him, or just wanted to rest him. I don't know.
I was going to ask Dave, did Shay Cooper play a bit more central did he and sort of a bit deeper in midfield last night? Because I was wondering who sort of almost played alongside Ryan for a lot of the game.
Yeah, he was deep.
Great analysis, fellas.
He was deeper, but he pushes on so well. We all like Joe Neal, but of course Shay's keeping him completely outside at the moment, and you see shades of Joe in Shay Cooper, but Joe is a fair way behind because he can't score goals, unfortunately, at the moment. He certainly won't while he's on the bench anyway. But you feel if we lose Cooper at the end of the season, if Joe can step up, he's got everything about him to do what Shay does. Hopefully he'll do it. I don't know. To answer your question, I don't know. I lost interest by then.
And I suppose another thing about the team last night was we changed formation, didn't we? Back to 4 at the back, and Paul Doswell mentioned that in his interview, didn't he? Sort of saying, "Oh, I didn't expect that. That sort of threw us first half." And again, Nobby, it sounds like it worked well with the defence, didn't it?
They did. They played very well. Joy McKenna played very well. He's had some good games lately. I was surprised he was dropped on Saturday. And but Saturday wasn't a problem. Letting in 1 goal, that shouldn't be the end of the story. You should be able to overcome that, or at least get level with it. Yes, the defence did do very well. Of course, we haven't got Callum Adebiyi now. Presumably the next 3 games. Ricardo Di Trollio went off injured last night. He was helped off the pitch. Don't know what the news is there. There's nothing mentioned in the interviews. Hope it's nothing serious. If it is, more changes underway. Clarkey, after a poor game at Dulwich, came back off the bench when Di Trollio went off and did fine. It's almost going to pick itself, that defence, if Ricardo is not fit.
Yeah, it will. It'll be interesting to see what Nobby does now going forward, doesn't it, with the shape? So, but yeah, hopefully Di Trollio not out for long.
Indeed, or at all.
Onwards.
Right. Big win. Doesn't put us back in the playoffs, but it gives such a boost, doesn't it, all the way round. Dulwich put us down on a low. The knives are out. Everyone's happy again. But we've got to follow it up now. We've got somebody Saturday. Eastbourne Borough. They did us 1-0 down at their place. We had an awful day down there. We just barely competed. They've gone off a boil a bit lately. Charlie Walker's still down there. We've got to get back to winning ways at home. Lost, 3 of our last 4 at the Park. And despite that, the crowd went up to nearly 1,600 the last home game.
But there's not a lot to sort of do in St Albans, these days, apart from go and watch City, which is, hey, that's good reason enough. I think it's a problem. That our home form, because there's only so much people will tolerate in terms of going to watch us. And it's almost like the City of old, where we have a loss and it's all doom and gloom, and then they entice us back. They lure us back with a 3 points, a solid 3 points on the road, get us back to the Park, and then they'll duly, fall over again. But I think this is the point now. I think the owners are looking at this going, right, what do we want from the last quarter of the season? They would have looked at that Dulwich result thinking, hang on a minute, there's something's not right here. But then they look at the Havant result, and I think we've got to kick on now. There's no point just 1 loss, 1 win, 1 loss, 1 win. We've got to try and stabilise here. We've got to try and get some continuity in the side. I think what Jake alluded to a bit earlier on is spot on. The fact that rather than drop players to fit a particular system, he's now using the players but changing the system to sort of try and make us a bit more stable, if you like. And it's working. But I think this is the point now. These games are the games you have to win in order for us to really kick on. Because if you've got any real aspirations for playoffs, it was a massive setback on Saturday. You've now got to look at picking up some points somewhere along the line because it's really tight in there, Tate. You know, that table is super, super tight, mate.
You say about pushing on, Lee. We got ourselves into a great position, fifth in the table, weren't we? And we look poised to make playoff place our own. We had Hungerford, we had Slough, we had Dulwich, and we blew all 3 games. So now we're having to play catch up again through our own failures, really. And we say about getting it right at home. Before this run, I think we were looking for a 5th successive home win, but suddenly, boom, it's all gone the other way again. It's bizarre, but that's probably why they're non-league players. You can't get that consistency.
Good point.
Well, no, especially, and they're not, you know, compare it to the value of the squad that we faced last night, you know, very different world, isn't it? And look at them. They're only a few points ahead of us. So, but I'd say, Lee, you know, there's only so many poor performances that supporters will put up at home. There's only so many poor performances you can put up at home when you're hoping to still be in that playoff chase. You can't rely on getting victories and points away from home if you want to try and get in the top 7. It's coming to that point of the season now. You know, if last night had gone the other way, we'd have been quite a way adrift. Luckily, went our way. We've got a chance now. But the stakes are rising. You know, we've got to start getting performances and results at home. And I know it's not going to be ideal on that pitch at the minute, but got to try and do it. You've got to play your best players and give them that freedom to play the way they want to on Saturday.
I shan't repeat that comment you made earlier today, Jake, about it's going to look like a beach down there with all this rain and sands on the pitch on Saturday. I shan't bring that into the public domain. It wouldn't be fair. I forgot what I was going to say. That's why I went on that.
Oh, that's a first.
You lucky devils. Oh, I know it was. Jake was saying about the performances have got to be good to keep the crowds big and keep them going. But we go back to the end of last season, and none of us can explain why the attendances kept going up because the performances were getting worse and worse, the results are getting worse. So somehow we've got a large base at the moment and a few good performances that are going to keep them up there. Ian Hall messaged me today. He's moaning again about having to spend money or something. I don't know. He's looking to a non-league day when we've sold a whole load of tickets at £10 a head for that game, which is great. It's going to get people down there, hopefully new people. Because if it's existing supporters, it's a bit annoying for season ticket holders who end up paying more per game than these people are getting these tickets. So I can understand Ian's point, but big crowd down there, it'd be good for the club.
Yeah, but doesn't it work out at like £11 a game or something if you were to buy a season ticket or whatever it was? I mean,
it might even be less than that.
Yeah, but I mean,
it's under that. Yeah.
You pay your money, you take your chances. You know, the fact is, I've got no problem with this. It's non-league day. It's nothing new. We've done it. We've done it for the last 5 or 6 years, 7 years. Even when Jake and I were in charge of the media side of it, we were always doing initiatives. It's nothing new, and I can't begrudge the club for doing it. I'd love to know how many of these tickets they actually put on sale at £10. You know, was it 1,000? Was it 10? Was it 100? But the fact of the matter is that they're doing it, and it's great. You know, they're trying to pack the park is one of their buzz phrases. But I just hope now the players see the packed terraces week in, week out, and hopefully put on a performance which is worthy of that attendance.
That's a nice line. Very nice line. We like that one, Lee. Write it down, Jake. We'll use that again.
I think Lee's spot on. And, you know, in recent years, there's been disagreement over pricing, match ticketing, etc.
That's there?
So it's good to see the club have sort of lowered that to a very good price, I think. And I say hopefully supporters buy in. That'd be brilliant. I think it's quite rich of Ian Hall to comment. How many games has he been to Havant Park in the last few seasons? And dare we ask him how are Forest getting on recently, Ian? We won't mention that. But, you know, it's good that the club are willing to make those prices available, which is brilliant. I think there's even like a £2 ticket offer for university students, I think. And, you know, don't mind that at all, which is good to see again. But we just got to make sure that, you know, how many times in front of these big crowds have we flopped performance-wise? So
every time. Every time. Bar Forest Green. Every time.
And Hemel this season.
Yeah, we beat
Still going.
Brentford.
Who?
Brentford. We are 9-25.
Oh, there you go.
How old are you? 10?
What was it say? Don't call out my name. Regards, Ian. Oh, okay. Right, are we done then? We just got
think we
stat
are.
predictions to do.
Yes.
Yes.
Go on, Jacob.
2-0 Saints. Are we
Ooh.
are we predicting 2 games as well? Aren't we playing Cheshunt next Tuesday?
Yes.
Are we?
Or is it
Oh,
week after?
21st. No, 21st. What's he? Just ignore him. He doesn't know what he's on about. He hardly goes to any games now. He don't know who we're playing.
I'm going to go. I'm going to go 3-0, based nothing other than hope. Just hope. 3-0.
In that order.
In that order.
Okay. Jolly good. Go on, Jake.
I was gonna 2-0 Saints. I'll take. And I was going to mention. I think you should mention all the Saints fans that went down to Havant last night. Was it 13, 14 of them, including you, Dave? You know, not a nice day to go down there. So I think well done and fair play to everyone that went. Absolutely brilliant. I think, you know, you saw the photos. Even I saw you in one of them, Dave. I think the players really appreciated it. And it's just really great to see.
Do you want me to sign it, Jake? You know, I'm available for signing sessions. It's no problem. Actually, I spent the evening standing with Duncan McLeod and Ray Curran. Now, Ray and I are total opposites. To me, I want to see a good game of football. I don't care if we win or lose. I want to see a good game of football. Ray, everything is about us winning. But he thoroughly enjoyed that game last night. That shows you how good it was. So
Ray is a man. I mean, he got very excited at Worthy. Ray, I've never seen a man of his age skip down the terrace with such gusto. I mean, when he's not berating the linesman or calling someone a bloody idiot, then you know he is one of the diehard fans, and it's good to see him have a good time last night with you, Tabs.
I think his chips went down the steps at a similar speed last night, Lee. He was not impressed with them.
Right. Well, on that note, I think Jacob is going to give us the information about how you can get in touch with the three amigos here.
At Podful of Saints on Twitter. Thanks as always to everyone that's been tweeting us and messaging us, and the email as well be in the description. Dave will probably check it. Lee might check it. Who knows? And yeah, I think as always, thank you very much for this roller coaster of an episode. And we will speak to you again next week. Thank you very much, everyone.
See you at Clarence Park.
Bye bye.